to be here with you all still. And thanks for sticking it out. We're excited to be here today and dive a little deeper. Nice to see everybody. We have just started recording the event as well, just for your awareness. And just a few housekeeping items. Our team, like I said, is very excited to be here again with you all today. We're going to be doing a lot of chatting and discussing with you as we connect in our breakout rooms today. And a few housekeeping items for those of you who haven't done so already. If you can rename yourself so that we know where you're joining us from. I see a lot of you have done that already. And then you can also include your preferred pronouns as well. And so we have an example up there. The chat, we're going to be using that a lot again today. Please get comfortable there. Put any questions you have. Feel free to have that up. And interact with us. We want to hear from you, throughout the session. We are a relatively small group, so, feel free to react, raise your hand to unmute, and we're excited to be with you today. With that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Marie to introduce our opening protocol for today.
So thanks so much. Actually, we are having a couple of tech issues, and I'm trying to resolve that right now.
No worries. I'm just getting my screen unshared. Good day to those of you who are just trickling in. Welcome back to day 3. Thanks for joining us and sticking it out.
Okay, so I just wanted to check in. I see that Micronesia Climate Alliance has checked in. Hi, Muñeca, are you there? Can you hear?
I'm here. Hi, sorry. Had a little bit of trouble getting in.
No. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh, yes, of course. Excited to be here.
So if in case everybody didn't remember Muñeca from our first day, she's actually going to be opening for today. She's going to be starting the morning for us over here and continuing the wonderful day in Hawaii and American Samoa. So thank you very much, Muñeca.
Is that my cue to start for an opening?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, of course. So happy day, everybody. Tiro, talofa, aloha. It's so nice to be in community with everybody. Ali, to my good friend Caro. So happy to be here and to be sharing on this Friday morning here on rainy Guam, taking a moment for us to all sit and be present with one another, be present with our lands and the waters that surround us. And remember that even though we have a daunting future with all this climate crisis in front of us, and we have a lot of work ahead in shifting our behaviors, in our interpersonal relationships with our lands and with each other, so that the future can be more viable and feasible for our future descendants. We're all in this together and we're not alone. And the ocean doesn't divide us. It actually, in fact, unites us on this journey of healing and on this journey of creating a more regenerative and sustainable world. So I wanted to open this space today with a great reminder of our interdependence with a Chamorro song and chant called Unuhit. And Unuhit in Chamorro means we are one. And Micronesia Climate Change Alliance likes to use this chant in working with our youth to also instill that sense of, I guess in Hawaii, it's the kuleana, or that sense of inaguanaiza or inadahi for Chamorro, just this sense of being able to be watchful and mindful of ourselves and of our families and in the ways that we impact the world around us. Because it really does impact, we all do have a ripple effect and we all really are interconnected. So this chant, Unuhit, is a great reminder that we are all one. Unuhit, Zanitanu, Itasi Atau Zani langit We are one with the earth, with the sky, with the sea, with the sun. We are one. Unu he zanitanu itasi atau zanilangit. We are one. Maasi, everybody. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of this upcoming school year, and that we all take into consideration from time to time our own peace and our own hearts and our own spirits, and we do the work of healing ourselves so that we can heal the world around us. Maasi. Kilisu.
Maasi, Muñeca.
Muñeca, thank you. Thank you so much for that. We're super grateful to have you here. Thank you for joining us with that. And yeah, Justin's going to introduce our next guest speaker for today.
Yes, and actually that was the perfect way to frame it. Thank you. I couldn't have asked for better. We have the pleasure of welcoming Seth Spencer with Climate Generation. We are, as you may recall, part of a larger kind of national network of teachers talking about climate change and how to best reach out to our students and our communities. And Seth, perhaps I'll let you describe your own work a little bit and go ahead and hand it off to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Justin. And yeah, I've got some big shoes to fill after that beautiful opening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So hopefully you all can see that. Are you able to see my screen now? Great. Well, I'm going to do a very, very quick introduction to myself and to Climate Generation and to kind of how we hope that all of this is a network of collaboration around climate change education and solution building. So again, my name is Seth Spencer, and I am the Teach Climate Network Coordinator for Climate Generation, a Will Steger legacy. I use he, him pronouns and live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is the ancestral and contemporary lands of the Dakota and Anishinaabe people. Though I did live in coastal Alaska for the last 5 years, so I'm missing the ocean every day. So Climate Generation, Will Steger Legacy is based in Minneapolis, as I mentioned, and our vision is to ignite and sustain the ability of educators, youth, and communities to act on the systems that perpetuate the climate crisis. And we hope to accomplish this through three overarching strategies, which are to overcome climate and science disinformation, centering anti-racism and systemic equity, and to personalize and localize climate change action. Climate Generation was founded in 2006 by National Geographic polar explorer Will Steger, who's a lifelong science educator and environmentalist from Minnesota. But he was an eyewitness to climate change through 50 years of polar exploration and really knew that educators were the way to really cause and allow change in communities around the world. So how do we hope to do this? It's mostly through our education program. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So just like any good education program, we do, of course, have some curriculum that I'll try to maybe post in the chat when I'm done here, but we do have curriculum resources. Some are focused on Minnesota and the Midwest region, but we have quite a few that would be appropriate for educators in the Pacific Island region. And then probably more appropriate, we do have quite a few opportunities for professional development for educators around climate change impacts and solutions. This includes customized workshops, ongoing mentoring and support through our Teach Climate Network, and our 16th annual Summer Institute for Climate Change Education that I'll provide more information on in just a minute. Now I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat here. Perfect. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, most of our programming moved virtual. And so we created something called the Teach Climate Network, which really focused on creating a community of climate change mentors and educators around North America. As part of the Teach Climate Network, if you were interested in joining, you would receive monthly educator newsletters focused on providing tips, resources, and inspiration around climate change education and climate justice. And we also offer monthly virtual workshops with educators from around the country, which focus on youth empowerment, climate justice, and understanding climate phenomena. So now I'm going to talk about the Summer Institute for Climate Change Education, because you might see our little Climate Generation logo pop up on a lot of co-branding for this workshop. And that is because we are having our 16th annual Summer Institute, which focuses on professional development for educators. And one of the ways that we are trying to create collaboration and community is working with cohort organizations throughout the lower 48 of the United States, Canada, and the Pacific Island region. Of course, due to the time zone issue, we did realize that it didn't work to have as many of our Pacific Island educators participate live as we had hoped. But in just a minute, I'll talk about how, if you're interested, you can still participate along with the rest of the educators. So in our planning, we decided that we're going to focus on 6 main themes that you can see here. And so in the future, we do hope that you can participate and explore some of these themes along with educators and really create that collaboration and community support throughout the school year. So just to give you an idea of some of the presenters that we'll be having at this year's Institute, which is July 28th through 30th, you can see some of the folks here. But we are going to be having over 300 educators from around North America joining, 75 plus climate change education and climate justice experts and practitioners for a 3-day virtual institute, which starts in just about 6 days. And as I mentioned, I hope that we can figure out a way that you all are joining us in the future live. But I want to talk about how you can participate and not have to wake up at 3 in the morning. And so one of the things that is open to the entire public is our climate change trivia, which is going to happen on Wednesday, July 28th at 7:00 p.m. Central Time. And hopefully I got the other times right, but I'm going to put the link in to the chat here if you're at all interested. It's going to be definitely focus on climate change impacts and solutions, but I did like a crash course, and there's a whole Hollywood round. It's pretty fun, and it is being co-sponsored by REI, which is an outdoor clothing company, and so there's some giveaways throughout the event. It is free to register, so definitely feel free to join us. Another event that is open to all of our educators in the Pacific Island region is our keynote speaker, who is going to be Dr. Raven Baxter. She's going to be presenting on finding your voice and advocacy for self and for planet. And Dr. Raven Baxter is probably better known as Raven the Science Maven. So she has a YouTube channel and is a doctoral candidate that uses hip hop and art to work with students around the world. That is at 9:45 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday, July 28th. But luckily for all of us, you don't have to watch it live to participate. As soon as it is recorded, you'll be able to watch it whenever you want. And I'm going to put it's a Facebook event. It'll be live streaming on Facebook. So feel free to click on that. And then if you just like it, it will give you an update once it is live. Another keynote is going to be youth activists that are going to be presenting on their youth work. That will be another Facebook Live event. I don't have the link quite yet, but if you click on the Raven Science Maven one, you'll see our Climate Generation Facebook page, and all of that will update very shortly. One kind of final event that will be applicable to some of you is if you self-identified as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color on your registration for this workshop, you're going to receive an invite tomorrow to the Leaders of Color reception, which is hosted by our community and outreach specialist, Josna Harris of Climate Generation, and is going to take place on Tuesday, July 27th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And again, you should hopefully see the correct time zone there on the bottom right. And I know that in like 2 minutes, we're hoping to switch over to our exhibitors. But that is really what I had to present on today. I will be one of the exhibitors, so if you're really interested in learning more, I can talk a bit more at length. But otherwise, thank you so much for participating in this workshop and for collaborating on finding climate change solutions with the students and communities that you work with. I have like probably 1 minute for a question, but otherwise I'll go ahead and stop sharing and turn it back over to Justin.
All right, so if anybody has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we can relay those to Seth, or you can unmute yourself. But we are going to get ready to go into the exhibit hall. We're so excited to have all of these folks from across the region, many organizations joining us to help you connect your students with climate resources, additional resources, and field opportunities. I know a lot of you talked about wanting hands-on experience as well, so there's a lot of that stuff in our exhibit hall. So a few instructions for how we're going to do that. We are actually going to be jumping into a different Zoom room. So we're going to leave this room, go into the new room, and we will have breakout rooms from there. Justin has pasted the link in the chat, so you can actually see the list of exhibitors in that first link and the new Zoom room in that second link. So you will have to register when you go into that new room. Don't be afraid, it'll just take 2 seconds, but you'll have to type in your name and email. So we're all going to hop into there. We're going to do 3 15-minute rotations. So you'll have a chance to connect with 3 different exhibitors, but all of their contact info is also on that spreadsheet. So don't hesitate to follow up with folks that maybe you didn't get a chance to connect with. So with that, we're going to be in that exhibit hall for about an hour, and then we'll have a short break after that. So we'll be returning to the workshop 30 minutes after the next hour. Are there any questions before we hop over there? And you're more than welcome to already start heading that way. We're all going to be going over there. We'll stay in this room a few more minutes to give folks a chance to transition in.
And I'll be staying on this Zoom link if anybody has any issues.
Really awaiting us to join them.
So just a heads up, if you're still here, there are some other teachers we open this opportunity up for, so you'll get a chance to see some new faces as well. Here's that link again, if it got lost in the chat. The bottom link, sorry.
Hey, Manyaka, I see you for Micronesia Climate Change Alliance. You probably want to head over to the other Zoom link.
Hi, can you send me? Yeah, I'm trying to register, I guess, now. And I thought I did, but the registration links haven't been working for me.
Okay. Is it easier for you if I WhatsApp it to you?
Is anyone else having any technical issues?
Hey, Munyaka, I'm going to go ahead and WhatsApp it to you, okay? We'll try it that way.
Thanks, Maria. I'm going to leave this meeting now and I'll sign into the other one.
Okay, sorry about that.
See you soon. If anybody's having trouble getting into that link, you may need to close this Zoom link first to go into the other one. Leon is already over there, and he will give you the link to get back to this, or you can. It's the same link that you arrived in.
I'm trying to get into the sign in, and there's no CNMI, and it's a pull down, so I can't type it in.
That might have just been a
Meeting
mistake.
registration, exhibitor climate showcase, Pacific Island region, and there's no CNMI. Do I need to go to the country? There's no Marianas Islands. Here we go, Northern Mariana Islands.
Okay, great.
All right, so it was in the country.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up. Automatic drop-down menus. Miss Mylena and Miss Manglona, is there anything you can do to help, or are you already?
This is Mayolina. I'm trying, and I hope I will get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you on the registration link right now?
I'm clicking join and register, but I'm not successful yet. So hopefully I will.
Okay. You may need to close out of this one for it to allow you. I'm not 100% sure with Zoom.
And Miss Magnolia, did you need, are you able to, is the registration coming up for you?
She might have been able to just keep both.
I actually wonder maybe if some people are signing in, maybe they have a computer and then maybe some others might be coming to their phone.
Maybe so. We're down to our only 3 people, so hopefully.
Okay, there.
It worked?
I'm
Okay,
almost
okay.
done with the registration.
Oh. Yeah, sorry about that extra work. We have some people outside of this workshop joining, so we wanted
It's
to make sure
okay.
we.
That's how in virtual thing. And I'm very, I am very thankful that I was able to. And thank you for all
enjoy.
the
There's a
things
lot.
that you have done for us to help us share this to our students.
Absolutely. You're doing the hard work. This is fun for us.
Oh, it's more to us.
Be sure you talk to the National Weather Service for Guam. There's 2 meteorologists in there, Brandon and Jenny, and they actually want to do more work with CNMI. So we can ask them about that.
Okay, they're Northern Marianas. CNMI. I'll just put CNMI.
And I'm sorry, I might totally butcher your name, Angel Vaimauga.
Oh, looks like they just popped out. Perfect. I'm from California, so I mispronounce everybody's name because I grew up with Spanish.
Yeah, no, I grew up in Riverside, so
Huh.
Polynesian names for me are really hard because they're so long. They have so many more vowels.
But Hawaiian makes so much, it's not that different pronunciation wise from Spanish in terms of you pronounce pretty much everything. You just have to figure out the emphasis correctly. It's only taken 5 years to sort of get it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to try to, let's see. I'm going to try to hop onto the exhibitor on my other computer. Let's see how
Great.
that works.
I can hold this too. So if it's a pain at all, just let me know.
So I'm done putting the information, and then it says there, join meeting in progress. So I'll click this.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually I will like submit. This site is trying to open so many things. Okay.
It may get cranky at you because your window is open here, but we'll see.
Ooh, there's 15 people.
And if there's anybody else that's struggling to get into their breakout room, feel free to put it in the chat which room you want to go to, and we can move you over.
Ooh, it's looking a little complicated over there.
Yeah, good thing everybody's over there to help. Oh, I'm going to stop the recording.
So MUIs are multi-stage activities that include learning both outdoors and in the classroom that aim to increase understanding and stewardship of watersheds and related ecosystems. These projects are all student-driven and place-based with a call to action at the end. So whether we're working with students directly or providing professional development for educators, BWIT grants empower students to investigate local and global environmental issues that affect their lives, choices, and communities. So that's just some background about the BWIT program. And then really quick about the Ocean Guardian School. If you didn't join me in my exhibition in the session. So Ocean Guardian School might be very interesting to a lot of you because we actually provide funding for schools to do hands-on stewardship projects, either on campus or in your local community that affect the health and local watersheds and the oceans. So we're lucky enough to have Laura here. She is working with Volcano School of Arts and Science, and they are actually one of our Ocean Guardian schools right now. So I'd like to pass the virtual mic over to Laura to share about her Ocean Guardian School program. Laura?
Oh, okay. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So our school got the Ocean Guardianship grant this year, and it was a little bit tricky due to COVID and stuff, but we came up with a project. And what we did was we tried to align our whole school from preschool all the way up to 10th grade with different, using, of course, the science standards. And we studied the watershed in one of the districts where a good portion of our students are from, which is Kaiholena. So everyone came up with a phenomena. So they were fun. Some of the kids were, what's up with the color of the Oma'au poop, right? Because they were getting into seed dispersal, things like that. But with the grant, we were able to buy some equipment. I'm not sure if it was cameras or the acoustic monitoring, but in my class, we studied, I really focused on the native forest birds so the kids would just be inquiring and trying to figure out what was going on in the forest. And we studied 4 different locations within this area. So one was in a pasture and they could hear the coqui frogs or the invasives and the cows. And some were, near the edge of the forest and lower elevation and higher elevation of the forest. And it was really interesting. We would just sit and listen, and then the kids would inquire about what was going on or what they heard or what they didn't hear. And so then we would get to talk with the Division of Forestry, some of the scientists that study in the area, and just encourage the kids questioning, and hopefully where we're moving with this for next year, because it took a while just to get set up, is that the kids start coming up with more different research ideas. And this all, of course, is within the Ahupua'a. And I do place-based teaching, so I take my kids usually on field trips once every Monday. So it's kind of like a puzzle. You put together all the different aspects of our environment. So from, stream ecology to the estuary. So this year, because of COVID, we only got in a couple field trips, but we were able to go to the ocean, which is right below this watershed, and be able to study the estuary, like what lives in there, why the estuaries are important, focusing on the estuaries, of course, the nursery for the ama, which is the mullet, and then also for the native stream fish. And then we also joined a local IA so that they could learn more about, freshwater wetlands, and the kids help to build walls and help to clean out the, I think it's called the makaha, which is the gate which lets the keiki in, also learning about the different invasives. So overall, just the impact of humans on our environment over time, and what's happening to the natives and their competition, and what the invasives do. And, I guess the thing is that one of the Hawaiian sayings is the rain always follows the forest. And so all of this is just showing how important our water is. And that was our whole focus, was how important water is. And, the other challenge is to tie in then what's happening globally, like how many rainforests are there across the world, or what percentage of rainforests are gone. So this was just a great project, because everyone took a different aspect of it and studied different things within, our project. So it's kind of a growing project, something we started this year, making it more inquiry, and then maybe more project or project based for the kids as time goes on. So I guess I only have 5 minutes, so that's all I wanted to share, unless there's anything else. Oh, the hawksbills. Okay, thanks. I also, with the hawksbill, every year we try to go out, and I try to, like the kids know, learn about the plastics that get into the ocean. So we always go out and learn about the hawksbills, which are native. They love Ka'u, which is the whole coastline right there below Kaiholena. And a lot of times we'll go out and we'll do a beach cleanup, and we've got to excavate with the hawksbill recovery team a couple times, different nests. So one way as a stewardship is just to put out the, save the hawksbills and the rules about protecting them and keeping them safe. So these were posters that the students made to get out into the community, or at least a couple examples of a few that they made. Oh yes, and we also did outplanting. So we focused on native plants, mamaki, and the ko'oko'olau. And I've actually been doing a project for almost 10 years for the kids to save the ko'oko'olau, which is an herbal. It could be like a tea. It's medicinal. It's up in the Biden family. It would be the Hawaii sunflower, I guess. And so we did outplantings, and we also started a number of keiki and gave out at least 125 plants to different people in the community to encourage backyard planting of native plants. So this is what we could get done in a COVID year. And yes, the Noaa snapshots were wonderful. We got to visit scientists from around the nation, and we would go on these wonderful virtual field trips, and they learned so much about, the ocean, what's happening on land. It was so educational. The fisheries, healthy waters, what's happening around the globe. So mahalo, and I do hope Noaa continues to do them this year, because we would love to join them. And once the kids were done, we would do either one-pagers where they had to just write a poem, give facts, build vocabulary, just I take what we learn out in the community and just turn it into their writing assignments also. So mahalo to Noah for those great virtual snapshots. Okay, and my 5 minutes must be up, right, Justin? Okay. Aloha.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Great.
Coming to you from the
thanks.
dry lands of Hawaii.
Yeah.
All right.
Aloha.
Aloha, thanks.
Does this mean I'm up? I see my name up there. I'm Diana Warren, and I'm the Director of Learning Endeavors. Should I continue? Can folks hear me? Oops. Laura, that was amazing. You're doing wonderful things. Can anybody
Sounds
hear
great.
me?
Can hear you. Yeah,
Yes,
you
we
should be able
can.
to share your screen too, Diana, if you want.
Oh, could I? Oh, okay, that might be easier. Thank you.
Sure.
So hello, everybody. I am the Director of Learning Endeavors, and I'm going to share my screen real quick and also take 5 minutes. So I'll do my best here. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. Learning Endeavors is a small
we can.
nonprofit. Okay, thanks, Leon. Located on Maui and serving the Hawaiian Islands and beyond. And I'm here to share a little bit about our BWET grant-funded Champions of Coastal Resilience initiative. And we are focusing primarily on professional development for teachers. So I'll just share a couple of highlights and hopefully a video or two. So we are trying to develop climate science stewards and trying to care for our coastal communities. And our approach is by teaching field ecology along our coastlines, in particular coastal ecosystems, and then teaching climate science using innovative technologies, and then trying to empower the next generation of champions by taking action with stewardship and citizen science, and producing stories that tell the story of coastlines. So I started with this picture I took of this monk seal in Oluwalu on the island of Maui during a king's tide. And I'm sharing it because I wanted to make sure to say that we're aligning to the next generation science standards as best we can by using a phenomenon approach. So we have lots of photos and videos that sort of allow students to really engage and get curious and wonder, and then we begin to go deeper into our pedagogy. So the most recent teacher workshop, in spite of COVID, we were able to actually offer a successful virtual PD. And we used the approach that I just described. The first PD this spring was for teachers of grades 5 through 8 and included 10 virtual sessions. And here's a few of the highlights of what teachers did. They, as I said, analyzed climate science data using some cutting edge technology. We focused on wetland, dunes, beaches, and cliffs ecosystems. And our partners on the project were guest speakers and helped deepen teachers' learning on all of the topics and all of the tools. And we really focused in on coastal resilience strategies in Hawaii and beyond. And we love citizen science, and we love planting native plants and removing invasives and all that good stuff. So we focused on that. However, because we couldn't fully do our MUIs, our field trips with students, what we did was we had teachers go on their own field trips and produce their own virtual field trip video. Or field study video, we like to call it. And then they turned around and used that with students. And so just a couple more highlights are that these are some of our partners that spoke to teachers and in our virtual sessions. And these are a couple of the tech tools we used: ArcGIS online story maps to identify watersheds, ahupua'a, and begin to analyze land use and coastal ecosystems. One of the tools we taught teachers is something called the Wayback Slider, which is so cool. You got to check it out as part of the Living Atlas, which is within the ArcGIS online suite. And if you look on the left, you see 2018 on the northwest shore of Maui. And on the right, overlaid, is 2021, about February. So you can see that the beach erosion is really significant. So that was another tool that teachers loved learning to use, and then they passed on to students. And we also had field data sheets. And as I said, even though we couldn't really get field trips, we couldn't get loads of students in the field, we gave them the tools to do it with their ohana. And then teachers tried to use them. We're also able to develop our own citizen science app, which is a digital version of this field data sheet. And with thanks to Leon and others, we learned about some fabulous sea level rise modeling, the coastal hazard modeling tools as part of the program. And all of our champions of coastal resilience implementations encourage students culminating their learning into a 1 to 2 minute video about a coastal area or coastal issue where they live in their watershed, and then sharing it at a film festival, in this case, virtual film festivals. And we really believe this is an important part of developing champions. So I have a couple samples to share. I did want to mention before I stop sharing this slide, this is my contact information. I'm going to go from the bottom up. My contact information, director@learningendeavors.org. I'd love to hear from you. If you're a 6th through 12th grade teacher in Hawaii or beyond, we'd love for you to join us in this virtual CCR Teacher PD starting August 17th. We bumped it back a little bit, so there's still space available. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm gonna pop over to this fabulous video made by Leimana Kane, a Waihe'e elementary school teacher who just took our program and just ran with it. It is a 12-minute video, so I'm not sharing the whole thing, but this is an ua'u. It's a Hawaiian seabird that we learned about, and that each teacher received a stuffed ua'u that actually makes its call. And the call was recorded up here on Haleakala, up top on the island of Maui. But I'm going to share just a couple snippets with you. She did a fun virtual field trip video that she turned around and used with her students. And she kind of made her voice really high too. So
I don't think the sound is coming through. Oh, it is now. Sorry.
And I am an ua'u, a type of money that you all have learned about and that calls these islands home. And I will be your guide and coastal resilience champion today.
Oops. So she kind of did a creative twist on having the ua'u be the guide.
On your virtual huaka'i. Your kumu asked me to show you folks around this moku of Lahaina and the land of the cruel sun, or Kamalu Ulua Olele, the breadfruit sheltered land of Lele. Well, why me? Because I love to fly all over my island and observe our coasts and shorelines.
So she, I believe, teaches 4th grade, and I'm just going to skip ahead to where she talks about the place on Maui called Puamana.
Beach Park, because it's actually closed right now due to coastal erosion. Oh no! Let's take a closer look. Walking along the shore, it was a breezy day with winds probably around 4 to 5 miles per hour. So a nice gentle breeze that I can glide on. The sun was high as it was around 2:00 p.m. that I was there. So it was nice and mellow with no rain in sight. The shoreline had a gentle slope with a mainly sandy shore mixed with...
I'm gonna jump ahead. So some of this is from our data sheet, collecting data. And
Guam is famous for its surf break due to the reefs that I mentioned before, and many people come out to surf. When the park was open, the beach park also welcomed Ohana to play along the shore, and many Lovaitas to fish as well. As we continue north, we will also come up to many residential areas and eventually Ka'ua'ula Stream. I am sure you coastal champions have already noticed by now, but this area is facing major coastal threats, which is why the beach park is closed. The parking lot has begun to erode, and many roots of the plants that are here are being exposed. Moving towards the residential areas, you can see that the land is eroding away, and waves are making their way under the ground. Online interactive mapping tools and images to get a little more detail. What other differences do you notice?
Here's the Wayback Slider she used to show students.
By now, I think we all can agree that Puamana is showing evidence and is at risk for more damage. Therefore, the last tool we'll be looking at is the coastal
flood hazard tool that we learned about. So I am going to end with one. She's amazing, and I wish I had 12 minutes to share the whole thing. But as I said, students make their own videos, and if there's time, I'd love to share just a little bit of a 5th grade student on the island of Molokai who did a fabulous job telling the story of Papohaku Beach. Do we have time? 1 minute of
Please
it?
do.
Oh,
Please
okay.
do. I love this one.
Okay.
It's Kulea Ignacio. Today is May 16, 2021, around noon, and I am at Papohaku for my CCR field study. Papohaku is in the ahupua of Kaluakoi on the west side of Molokai. Kaluakoi was known for ads in the olden days. Papohaku means rock wall, which was built over a body of a warrior who sacrificed himself for his chief's health after not following gathering rules and eating fish that was kapu. It's overcast with some drizzles, and the wind speed is 10 to 15 miles per hour. It is now low tide at zero and rising. I can tell it's low tide because I can see some of the reef. The water is calm with no waves, and the water doesn't come far up on shore. The moon phase today is Kukolu. It is almost half and getting bigger. There is a gentle slope on the sandy shoreline. Papohaku is one of Hawaii's longest white sand beaches. I think there is some erosion because I can see the sand color is different closer to the land. It is darker brown. The aki and pohinahina helps to keep the dirt from erosion. I also see naupaka, which are all native plants. There are lots of kiave and weeds that are invasive. Papohaku has lots of fish like moi, papio, and o'io that we caught before. Inland, there are lots of deer. We go to Papohaku to swim, bodyboard, look for shells, and fish. It is nice during the summer but can get really rough in the winter. When we leave, we make sure we take our trash, and if people leave their things behind, we clean it up. If we all do our part in taking care of our shorelines, we will have beautiful beaches and healthy fish for more generations to come. This is my CCR story.
So I'm just so pleased with his video. We have dozens and dozens of videos. I'll stop there and just say that, again, that was a video produced totally by him going as a result of our program with his family to Papohaku Beach and pulling all the pieces together. And if you think you're interested in more, check out our website, learningendeavors.org. I'm sorry if I went over time. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Diana. I appreciate it. I put the link in there in terms of specifically to your professional development thing. So I know folks were asking, so
Oh, thanks.
Feel free to jump to that if you want to get more information there.
Yeah, thanks, Diana. It was really great to see. I love to see videos actually made by students. And I just looking at that too from Guam, I really feel like a lot of our kids can relate to a product like that as well. So thanks a lot for sharing. Mel, you can go ahead and start sharing your screen if you want to do that. We're going to hear from, we're going to hear about Guardians of the Reef from Ms. Mel Blas and Ms. Carolyn Haru. They're Guam teachers with Guardians of the Reef. They're going to talk a little bit about that program, and then we're going to move to a CNMI project. I'm really excited about shoreline monitoring. I actually think it's something that high school teachers here could do in Guam and also in American Samoa. So I'm really excited. Mel, Carolyn, you ready to go?
So howdy everybody. My name is Carolyn Haru. I am a JFK science teacher. I teach 10th through 12th grade, and I'll be presenting with the amazing, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but the amazing Melanie Blas. She's somewhere on your screen. She teaches at Simon Sanchez High School. So we are both are advisors to the Guardians of the Reef program, which is a student-led program where we take our high school kids out to the elementary schools to present to the 3rd grade classrooms. They chose 3rd grade so that it could cover all the students as they come up. So every year there's a new group that goes through it. So we're hoping to get all the kids on island. We basically divide, or all the high schools are involved. So JFK, Simon Sanchez, everybody. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You can see that there's some years where there's other high schools that are not participating, but for the most part, most of us are in there. What we do in our classrooms as individual teachers is we teach our students about the coral reef ecosystem. We talk about climate change. We talk about how it affects the other. And then the kids come together for one day of training, just one day, and they're amazing kids. So one day of training where they learn about how to present and what materials to present before they go out into these classrooms, and they sing and they dance and they do arts and crafts and do activities to promote the protection of our coral reef ecosystems. This whole program is funded under the NOAA's Coral Reef Conservation Program, and they provide all of our materials to include papers, something as basic as pipe cleaners, tape, paint, everything, all the way to our venue, our busing, and a venue for the retreat. We normally have the kids go to our aquarium, and then they do an overnight retreat there. The kids love it. So far over the years, the high school kids, they absolutely love it. They get to share something that they know, right? And then the elementary school kids, they love it because they're not talking to teachers, they're talking to kids. And so they're both learning. One of the best ways to learn something is to teach somebody else. And so if you walk around my campus, at least, you know who my guardians are because they would talk about it without realizing it. And if somebody's loud, they go shark fin, and then you know who's the other guardians because they would do their little strategy to make everybody else go quiet. So they take it, and from the Guardians of the Reef program, we have kids from elementary schools who come up and join the program so they can go back and present to their 3rd grade teacher. It's been awesome seeing them going back and seeing their former teachers. And then we have students who are guardians who are now in the marine biofield. So it works for us both ways. It was a challenge this year because of COVID, but again, amazing Melanie Blas. She found a way around it. So she's going to talk about what we did this year that is different.
Yeah, so this program, I've been with it since 2007. The second year it got put into place. The kids get trained to teach, they get the students for 1 hour. And it started off with just teaching two of the high school kids would teach a whole classroom, but we got so many people excited about it that we get up to like 15 or 20 kids in one room because we get so many kids that are interested. But it was a bummer this year because of COVID, because we've done it every year. And so we found a way to still provide something through a website. So some of the guardians got together and we're like, okay, we can't let these 3rd graders get cheated out of it. We've got to do something for them. And so what we did is we took what we normally have in our presentation and we digitized it. So what we did is we made a website, and the kids made a website, and then the kids came up with digital escape rooms. I stitched it together but they made all the slides and their names are on each slide. And then we made digital escape rooms where they can participate. This is when you go to the guardiansofthereef.weebly.com, then you'll be able to click on it and try out the escape rooms. It's just using Google Forms, but in a gamified format and making it more interesting, because you can't move to the next one unless you get it right. So you're like, but all the answers are on the slides. So literally they just read the slides and find the answer, and then they get to the next one, and then at the end it says, congratulations, you are a guardian of the reef, and there's 4 escape rooms, and they address the 4 questions. So the 4 questions that we address in the presentations, which the students address, which are what are corals? Why are corals important? What is harming corals, and how can we help them? And so, yeah, I invite you guys to check it out and try it out. I learned about digital escape rooms online, and I said, let's try and check it out. And then I tried it out with my students this year, and they absolutely loved it. And I'm like, it's just a Google form, right? They're like, yeah, but it's so much better than your normal quizzes and your normal Google forms. So as a teacher, I think that's something that I tried and I really like. And it does take more time making it, but I think the experience that the kids get out of it is, well, in addition to the high school students, they also made gifts. So it's not just pictures, it's like little short videos that they made themselves. And so I don't know, we did something during COVID because we didn't want to cheat those kids out. Unfortunately, because we released it in May, a lot of teachers are like, I'm already finishing up, I don't have time for this. But I gave them the option. I said, hey, you guys can still have your 4th graders next year do it, and that way with the 3rd graders, and that way they'll still get it. So and it's not just limited to 3rd and 4th grade, anyone can actually try it out, just because it's online and it's on Weebly and it's free, and there's no limit to how many people can check it out. So if you have time and you want to just see, it's a few minutes of your time and you might like it. We also have karaoke music slides. So in 2020, when we made songs, the students, what they did is they turned them into karaoke music slides. So they made the slides nice, and they, the credit is still given to whoever made the songs, but they just like put pictures and stuff, and they changed the font, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and it's all like different flavors, so it's a very visually pleasing, it's very nice eye candy for the kids. And it's like, songs that like Moana, Frozen, songs that like the kids are like, oh yay, and they're made by high school kids, so it's pretty, I don't know, I like it. But does anyone have questions?
Thanks a lot, Mel. Thanks, Carolyn. I just want to say that I don't think that I think that it's pretty amazing to see a bunch of 16-year-olds singing to a bunch of 3rd graders. It's probably one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen. Like literally two teenage boys standing up in front of 3rd graders, like asking them to do shark fin because the 3rd graders aren't listening, and then like launching into, what's the best song probably that they've sung so far, in your opinion?
I like the song they did. They actually did, what was that song? I can't think of it right now, but they've done like stuff with sorry, I'm getting nervous here. I forget. I'm getting nervous, but they've done real songs. All the best songs so far, they're on the Weebly website. So if you want to check it out, it's all there. A great thing that's come out of this is after my students, after their first visit to the schools, they actually also do it to the high school classrooms just to get their feet wet, just to get them pumped up. And then once they do the elementary school, they're like, oh my gosh, they're so much nicer. I love presenting to kids. But then they come back and they're like, Miss, I'm going to be nicer to you because now I know what it feels like to be a teacher. So the kids have like this view that, oh my gosh, being a teacher, I'll stop being so mean to my teachers.
Well, thanks a lot, Mel. Thanks a lot, Carolyn. And for the other teachers who are here too, I want to encourage you, they actually have the script that the high school students learn and that they adjust to. So you might also want to hit up Mel and Carolyn and find out if that's something that if the model is something that you'd like to replicate in your schools as well. It's an amazing thing to see. I wish that we had video where you could actually see the kids presenting, but it's awesome. Thanks a lot. You guys did a great job. You guys are doing a great job. All right, and then we're going to go on to Mary. Mary is a coastal planner with the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands Division of Coastal Resources Management. She's the lead of the long-term shoreline monitoring program, and she regularly conducts beach profiling surveys on Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. And she believes in the power of place-based learning, having trained and mentored college-level student interns in the protocol.
Half a day to roll. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Marie.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Mary. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Marie, for having me here to present on this. It's so amazing to hear from these wonderful educators in the Pacific and learn about what you're doing. I'm just so excited to hear about what has been going on in Hawaii and Guam. So I manage the long-term shoreline monitoring program here in the CNMI, and I'm just really excited to share with you today a shoreline surveying activity that you can actually incorporate into your curriculum. So teachers, if you are diving it into coastal erosion and shoreline processes, I think this beach activity would be great for you. So some learning objectives from this beach profile activity I developed. Students will be able to discover the importance of sandy beaches, particularly since they're important coastal resources, develop observational skills of the shoreline, experience data compilation, graphing, and evaluation from an actual site, and visualize how climate change impacts our beaches. I train college level students and mentor them. And I think this is a great opportunity to have it at the high school level because climate change is such a big, it poses impacts on our beaches through storm surge, which exacerbates the erosion processes at hotspots, and coral bleaching and loss reduces the protection for beaches from strong wave energies, and sea level rise also poses risk to lower lying areas and also reduces that beach protective coastal protection from beaches. Next slide, please. And I actually looked into a method that is more affordable for our teachers to use and also kind of mirrors our Berger level method. Actually, our Berger level method came from the Emory method. It's just a little bit higher grade. The equipment's a little bit more expensive and not as accessible. So I looked into and did my research and adopted this activity from UH Manoa, and they used this two-person method. So the activity packet, I just developed these materials so that teachers can follow through with the procedures and also look into the background of why sandy beaches are important and how they're impacted by climate change. And they are CNMI based, but the procedure can also, of course, be used into other Pacific islands that have sandy beaches. The materials consist of 3-meter sticks, tape, to tape together the 2-meter sticks together to create what I call as a transit pole. Rope that will be used to create transit lines, transit ropes for the transit lines, markers to use that for the transit lines. And I believe in the importance of recording, documenting how things look like right then and there, because, our shorelines are very dynamic places. So taking pictures is important. And that's just an overview of what is expected from the packet that is available to you all. So preparation is important for the field work activity. The teachers are expected to choose a beach site and select where their starting points for the transect surveying is going to start. And the students are going to actually be in 3-person groups with the following roles: the sighter, transit pole holder, and recorder. And they will be creating their own transit pole holder and transit line. Next slide, please. So to dive deeper into the procedure, sorry, I was not expecting this slide because I had a different slide that I thought I sent, but just to dive.
You're doing great.
I'm doing great? Okay,
Yeah,
so wait, hold on. Let me just look into my PowerPoint presentation. So just to dive into the actual procedure of the surveying part, the sider will look into the top edge of the 1 meter stick that they're holding to align it to the horizon and measure where the transit pole is to capture the value, the elevation at that point. And all of that is in centimeters. That's why we're using meter sticks. Then once it's aligned, the sider will read the measurement and the transit pole values from 0 going up are negative, while below are positive. And then the transit pole holder will be assisting the reader by moving their finger on the top of the transit pole until it aligns with the horizon at the top of the meter stick. So the transit pole holder is just assisting where the value is. And there's actually this data sheet that accompanies with this procedure that the sider will, the recorder will be putting down information. So the sider is going to be communicating the value at where the transit pole is and noting down the distance on the transit line. So in the picture below, you can see that's the beach profile. Somewhere on the far left, that's where the starting point is. Usually it's a tree or a pala or what we call here in Saipan, but it's actually a pavilion, and they're just gonna line it until they reach the water line. So from there on, they're at a distance, the sider and the high transit pole guy are at a distance of 2 meters. The transit line is in meters, and they will just keep going every 2 meters along that transit line and capturing any shoreline features that are shown at that picture below. So such as the start of vegetation, the end of vegetation, and the rack line, which are debris that are left behind during the high tide event of that day or the previous days. And then after they're done with the fieldwork activity, they will be graphing this into plotting it into this graph, which is going to give them the beach profile activity. So there's that part of the data collection, and then as well as the data input and entry. So in order to get that vertical relief, which is on the y-axis, the students are actually going to calculate. So there's some math involved with the distance to capture the actual elevation difference at that throughout that transit line to create this shoreline profile. And with that plot, there's also a bunch of questions where they can think about climate change impacts, how that impacts the actual shoreline they were measuring. And yeah, thank you very much for having me. Feel free to contact me at shorelines@dcrm.gov.mp, and I work for the Division of Coastal Resource Management here in the CNMI. The phone number on there is actually 664-8300, and please feel free to download that educational packet, and I'm open to answering any questions you may have and clarify the procedure. Thank you very much for having me, Marie and Noaa team.
Thanks so much, Mary. I really appreciate it. I really feel I'm very appreciative of the fact that you actually adopted something that you do in your management program, and you make it you've adapted it in such a way where it's cheap, where the items are accessible,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that you can do like outside on your field trip. So thanks so much, and thanks for creating those materials.
Yeah, I'm
agree
so
with-
thankful for you to have reached out to me regarding this, because I definitely would love to expand this into high school curriculum. And yeah, so just in that picture, that last slide, this picture right here, that's the surveying equipment we use for our monitoring program. And we were just trying to think about like how it could be, what approach can we do where it could be implemented in the classroom and not have teachers purchase this expensive equipment. So yeah, thank you very much.
I agree with Marie. Great, accessible kind of way to do it. I've gone to the site that you've listed, and I'm just wondering on there on the Coastal Resources Management site, where do we find the actual materials, the data entry sheets and so forth, which you referenced in this?
Oh yes, so we have a website. I can put it down here on the.
And Mary,
below.
maybe you can add that information into the chat. I know
Yes.
we're running a little short of time, so if it's okay to, maybe we can move on to king tides and Maya and folks, and maybe you can answer in the chat if that's okay with everyone. Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Mary.
Cool. Thanks so much. I know we're running a little behind, but that's okay. There's a lot of awesome information, and it's great to hear from teachers on the ground in terms of what's happening in their classroom. I think that's some of the best info that can be transmitted to other teachers. So I appreciate everyone there. So our next presentation, we'll get a little break after this, and we'll have some breakout rooms and maybe some flexibility for a quick break as well too. But I do want to introduce Maya Walton, who's in the University of Hawaii Sea Grant program. She had a breakout room earlier in exhibitry, but if you didn't have a chance to go to it, they have a really awesome project on king tides that's available throughout the region. So I'll just turn over to Maya. And do you want to just share your screen, Maya? All right,
Yes.
awesome. Thanks.
I think I'm sharing it.
You are,
No,
yeah, looks great. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll get going right away because I know I'm keeping you from the break. So let's go ahead and get started. So like Leon was sharing, we run a community science project through the University of Hawaii Sea Grant College program called Hawaii and Pacific Islands King Tides Project. And that's what I'm describing today. I think there are a bunch of different ways for teachers and students to be involved in the community science aspect. But in a nutshell, we send volunteers out during the day of the king tide to observe and document impacts of these king tide events, which are a great indicator of future sea level rise along our coastlines. Okay, what is a king tide? Simply, a king tide is the highest high tide of the year, and these are predictable astronomical events. They're seasonal. Here in Hawaii, we experience king tide events in the summer months and in the winter months, but depending on where you are in the Pacific, your dates might not be exactly matching with the photo survey dates that I'm going to show you in a couple slides for photo surveys that we set up in Hawaii. But we're happy to have conversations with teachers if you're in American Samoa or Guam or the Marshall Islands. We can definitely help you identify the best days to go out and document and capture impacts from king tides. And like I was saying earlier, the reason we've chosen king tides is because they're a great indicator of future sea level rise. So this is historical data from the Honolulu tide gauge. Along the x-axis, you'll notice there's years, so 100 years of data here. And along the y-axis, we have water level in millimeters. This red line here is showing the average water level, and you can see that it increases over time. And you might imagine this red line continuing to the right off the graph into the future, right? And so you can imagine how these king tides, the highest high tides of the year, are a good indicator of what future averages might be like along our shorelines. And this is a trend that's not just happening in Honolulu, this is happening globally. So here's similar data showing trends at the global level, and you can see sea level is increasing over time. Okay, but it's one thing to show your students, you know, graphs with colorful lines, and we have sea level rise projections that look like the rainbow. You know, for maybe students, this can be sometimes abstract or technical, or you might hear students say, oh, I don't have to worry about that. That's happening a long time from now. Or I don't really have to worry about that. That's happening somewhere really far away. And what we hope this project does is offer a place-based learning opportunity to connect the dots. And what we're doing together is we're generating crowdsourced data, community-generated data together to help people understand sea level rise impacts on a personal level and on more immediate timescales. We are utilizing smartphones to collect photographs and observations, but you don't need a smartphone to participate in the project. If you have a digital camera and access to a computer, we can get you organized, get your photographs and notes into the publicly accessible database. And this project is fairly young. We've been running it since 2015. And over the last 6 years, we've trained over 800 people through face-to-face workshops and virtual workshops. There's over 3,000 photographs in the publicly accessible database that we're happy to see students and teachers use in the classroom. And I actually checked yesterday, we're up to 415 unique community scientists that have participated in the project. I wanted to give everyone kind of a taste for the photographs that exist in this publicly accessible database. I can share the link with Leon so that folks have access to the link, or I'll drop it into the chat when I'm done presenting these slides. But here are some of the impacts that community scientists have captured over the last couple of years. Here's a picture from Majuro impacting flooding, showing flooding. We've also captured things like storm drainage failure. This is from Honolulu. You can see water coming back up through the storm drain, doing exactly the opposite of what it's designed to do. We've also seen things like coastal erosion, wave run up, flooding on roads. This is not from rain. This is from water that gets pushed up through the ground, pushed back up through the storm drains. This is in Mapunapuna here in Honolulu. We've seen impacts to built infrastructure, harbors, public spaces like bike paths, and even impacts to food security. This particular photograph is from American Samoa. So our community scientists are capturing all sorts of different things that help us to understand climate change and sea level rise at a local scale. Oh, and impacts to cultural sites. This is He'ea Fish Pond here on the island of Oahu. So you're in luck. We actually have a photo survey today. If you want to go outside and take a picture and you're in the Hawaiian Islands, we are going out this afternoon to take some photos. You can also participate in August on the 19th and 20th. So please come join us as a community scientist. If you have students coming back to class in August, they can participate too. And I wanted to leave with a couple of ideas for how this project might intersect with things that happen with teachers and students in the classroom. The first way, I think, is to go out and have students observe and document these water levels during the king tides, to send us photographs, to send us observations of what they're seeing along the coastlines. That's the first way, I think. And if your students are asking, what happens to these photos anyways? The photos are getting used in very real and very important ways. So I pulled a couple examples of where the photos have ended up in the last couple of years. So this report to the left was officially accepted and passed in 2017. It's a state level government report. This climate action plan was passed just this past June of 2021. This outlines the things that the city and county of Honolulu are going to do to address climate change here. And the photographs got included in this plan. And this example to the right is a scientific study published in Nature Scientific Reports. And you can see the photographs from the community scientist project got used to illustrate some of the science that was published. Other ideas, we actually have a Voice of the Sea TV episode on king tides and sea level rise. So If you're interested, you can watch clips of that episode or the entire episode online. I can drop this link into the chat. And when you go to the episode webpage, we also have curriculum connected to the episode. So activities connected to sea level rise, some things connected to tides. A third way that I think the photographs can be used in the classroom is I've seen other folks at this workshop mention the NOAA Sea Level Rise Viewer, which is an awesome tool. I think the viewer could be paired with photographs from our database to spur discussion about adaptation. I heard some teachers say yesterday, what we need is to convey the seriousness of climate change without discouraging or scaring students. And what I like about conversations about adaptation is it engages students' creativity. It's kind of hopeful. So that's another idea we had for how teachers and students can connect with our project. I have a feeling I'm running out of time, so I'm going to close with this slide. I really do think it's important. I heard yesterday teachers mentioning that they wanted to train students to be change makers, which I thought was excellent. Perhaps the photographs can be used, a community scientist like this can be used to imagine a future that's more resilient, more sustainable. I think that would be a really cool spin-off from a project like this. Please visit our website and I'll drop some links into the chat. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Maya. Very, very quickly, there was a question in the chat from Melanie. I don't know if you can see that, maybe reiterate it and then address it very quickly.
Okay, can students share photos and then add that to their college applications that they helped with those publications, trying to find more ways to advertise kids to participate and make it more lucrative? Melanie, this is an awesome question. So oftentimes what happens is the scientists will credit the project, and if there's a name associated with the photograph, we ask them to credit the photographer as well. And some people choose to include their name and some people choose not to include their name for, whatever reason you want to include or not include your name online. So if their name is associated with the photograph, we ask the researcher or the scientist to be in touch with that person and say, hi, I'm using your photo in this publication. And so they should get noticed that way, but not all 3,000 photographs are being used for scientific publications or government reports, but we try our best to keep people aware of what's happening with their photographs. I hope that answer kind of helps.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, Maya. I know we're running a little over time, but we can definitely catch up hopefully in some of the breakout rooms. So before I think we all are probably due for at least a quick 5-minute break, but before we break, I just want to go over briefly what we're going to do when we come back for our part 3. So as you remember from yesterday, we delved into sea level rise and coral reefs, and we decided it might make sense to have time for you guys to talk in kind of smaller groups, depending on whether you're middle or high school, on the topics of sea level rise and coral bleaching, coral reefs. So we'll have some breakout rooms set up when we come back. So let's aim to come back at 3:35. And then there also is a room 5. I know some of you express interest in the, this is mainly for Hawaii teachers, but the Hawaii Online Portal for Education and some of the work that they're doing. Mickey, are you on briefly? Do you want to give a 1-minute spiel before we break off? I don't know if I'm trying to see if Mickey's on.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
sorry. What was that you wanted me to do right now?
No, if you could just give a quick 30-second to 1-minute thing about the Hawaii Online Portal for Education for some of the folks who are joining from Hawaii who maybe are not aware of it and what it's about. And you can join that room if you're interested in learning more. So I know
see. Yeah, no, of course. So thank you. And yeah, if you guys want to join me in that breakout room, HOPE, the Hawaii Online Portal for Education, is an initiative to have teachers create curriculum for other teachers. to be used that is Hawaii focused, Hawaii based, Hawaii originated, Hawaii authored, and collaborative. And so we're really looking to support, there are professional development supports also built into the process. For the next year and a half, there are stipends that are also built into the process. So if you would love to, help contribute curriculum that is place-based for other teachers, then please join us to learn more about it, because we have the funding right now to pay teachers to create resources for sharing with other teachers across Hawaii. And so we're excited for that.
Thanks, Mickey. So maybe if we can take a 4-minute break, come back at 35 minutes after, and then we'll have the breakout room set up and you can join those that are most appealing to folks. Thank you everyone for your patience. There's a lot of good content being shared today, and thanks for your understanding and us running a little late. So we'll see people back at 35 minutes after.
Hey, Justin, I was just wondering, how did you make somebody a co-host? Oh, you're muted.
I think as the host, you just right click on it, but only the host can make people a co-host.
Oh, okay, got it. Right click it. Oh, okay.
Do you need someone to be a co-host coming up?
Oh, no. It was just a logistical thing. I just didn't know how people were able to do that. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. And sorry, I was on mute when I explained that, so I'm glad that Leon did.
So I don't want to shortchange the breakout rooms in terms of time too much, but I think maybe we can spend, if it's okay with you guys, 20 minutes of time. That would take us to 55. Is that okay? Or should we still aim for 50? Are we tight on the other end?
Sorry, Leon, can you repeat that?
No, I'm just thinking in terms of bringing us back to time a little bit. I know we were gonna have the breakout room run until 50 minutes afterwards, 50. So that leaves people about 15 minutes. So do we want to stick with that, or can we, is there a little bit of wiggle room where we can extend it for 5 minutes or so?
I think we can do that.
Okay. All right, so it is 36, so we're hopefully people are back. Let me turn my camera back on. I'm gonna put some links in the chat for folks. Just as you go into your breakout rooms, we have a couple links where you can capture some of your thoughts in terms of some questions that you might have. So I'll quickly just share maybe one of these Jamboards to give you guys an idea. Well, actually, I think you can go ahead and do that in the breakout room. So it's there, paste it in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms. So if people are back, feel free to choose a breakout room that you're most interested in sort of delving a bit more and discussing with your colleagues how you might design an investigation based on the tools that we shared in Sea Level Rise and the Coral Reef section in terms of that level 5 data in the classroom piece. So feel free to move yourself. If you do need help moving yourself to a breakout room, you can type your name in the chat and what room number you want to move into, and we can help move you.
Yep. And it wasn't intuitive for me, so just a reminder, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list to get to the breakout rooms.
I'll just share my screen again. So I see some people moving. Do let me know if you are having any issues. But your facilitator in the room should be able to give you more info. Yeah, I can do that for you, Melanie. Give me 1 second. I've lost room 4. Okay, I was able to move you, Melanie. Anyone else? Room 3 for Asia. Okay.
And room 4 for Jay, please. Thank you.
Room 3 for Asia. Room 4 for Jay. Okay. All right. Anybody else I can help move? When I assign you to move, you'll see a button. Hopefully, you might need to scroll a little bit that says join room. You can join that room. Celeste, you're joining the, oh, you're already in the high school room. Okay. Does anyone else need to join rooms? I'm happy to move folks. Otherwise, I'm going to go and hop in a room. Roy, Brandy, Roy. Oh, room 1 for John. Okay, I see that. Oh, Oh, I think you moved yourself. Okay. Roy, do you want me to move you to a room, or Trisha?
No, I'm just lagging.
Okay, cool. Trisha or
Yes,
Brandy?
please, yes, yes, please. Can you transfer me
Which room?
to the Sea Level Rise Middle School?
Okay, Trisha, Sea Level Rise Middle School, room 1. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Brandy, do you need some help? Or Micronesia Climate Alliance? Can I help move any of you? Liana? Shall move Liana to the Hope room. Are you there, Liana? Oh, cool. I think we're good. So I'm going to join this one. Micronesia Climate Alliance, do you need me to move you to a room at all? Are you good? Okay, I guess you're not here, so I will move. Hey everyone, sorry to move you back from the main rooms. I'm sure there's some really good discussions and there's never enough time.
We need more time.
Yes, I know.
It was a real cliffhanger.
I know.
Well, we're gonna definitely at the end talk about some ways to continue conversations and continue this network. So this workshop is just long enough for us to start to sow the seeds.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Marie. We have we've been talking a lot about how we're going to help our students, but now we'd like to hear from some youth in terms of what they're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Marie, and you can help introduce our folks here. Marie and Belle, actually.
Thanks so much. Oh, good, Sol, and I see you online. Hold on a minute. Let me just change my view here. All right. So one of the things that I was really hopeful, one of the things that we talk about is that it can be really overwhelming to figure out how to talk to kids about climate change. I mean, like Leon mentioned, I feel really important to hear from the youth. And we've got two 16-year-olds today who we would really like to be able to get some of their feedback on. These are the 3 questions that we chose, but, feel free to drop anything in the chat. Our first speaker is Maria Soldwanius Marquez. I'm really pleased. Part of the reason why I wanted to ask her is because I actually saw her on a Facebook forum where she was with, I think, oh man, stop me if I'm wrong, maybe about 20 other youth. And just the level of discussion was so profound and so mature and so articulate that I really think it's just an awesome opportunity for us to learn from her and her peers. So Sol, are you ready?
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
Myself, okay. Buenas and happy day, everyone. My name is Maria Soldwanius Marks. I'm a young artist and activist, and as well as a student. I'm a part of the Guam Youth Climate Strike. I'm basically head of the education and creative sectors there. So that's like where a lot of my climate change work has kind of been under right now.
And do you want to talk a little bit about some of the activities that are either the most meaningful for you that you're doing right now or some of the favorite things that you're doing?
Sure. So this summer I was a part of the Guam Fashion Collective, which is this board of fashion designers. And it's also, there's a lot of intersections between a lot of people who are active in indigenous land rights and people who do a lot of work with climate change as well, where a lot of the designers who are a part of this board. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to incorporate indigenous perspectives and, kind of sustainability, like how we could practice sustainability in that collective, in that editorial. Basically, it was just this fashion collection that we just took pictures of. And one way that I've been finding meaningful ways I've been finding to incorporate climate change work into other work that I've done is kind of influence my hobbies with those kind of ideals. For example, everyone in this board, all of their collections, they had to have at least one sustainable look. And I wanted to do my entire collection with completely sustainable materials. So that's one of the things I've been doing this summer, yeah.
Well, hopefully you can show us some photos later on of fashion that has sustainable materials. Can you actually describe maybe one thing that you designed personally with the sustainable materials?
So sure, what a lot of people have been doing is getting dead stock fabrics. These are basically these rolls of fabrics from discontinued collections are just like that were going to be thrown out to landfill. These can be like colors that are kind of like maybe they're not so trendy anymore or anything, and young artists will get them for discounted prices because they're discontinued lines, and just get creative with how they want to incorporate it into their collection. One look that I did was actually I thrift shopped a bunch of old white t-shirts, and I dyed them using red dirt, so it was all the same kind of color, and I made a set using that fabric.
Well, I love that because here on Guam, red dirt is notorious for staining close.
Yeah.
The fact that you've actually incorporated that intentionally into something that's so artistic and creative. So that's super cool. So as you know, we have a lot of teachers here, and I know that you've thought very carefully about some of the advice or messages that you'd like to give teachers. So what do you want to tell us?
Definitely one of the first things I want to get out of the way is that there are so many resources on the internet. When I was just on the internet earlier, and when you asked that question about meaningful activities for climate change, I was a little like, I didn't really know what to talk about at first. And so I just looked up meaningful activities for climate change on the internet to see what would come up, just to get an idea. And I found this article of like by teachers. I guess it's like this whole like board made by all these teachers where they add all these different activities that they've been doing on all these different like models. Like there's like, you can get a container and get ice and demonstrate, you know, all these different kind of scientific processes that happen that contribute to climate change. It's like endless. There's so many. And I was just looking through them last night and it was really, really cool. But yeah, one of the first things I want to say is use your resources. Don't be afraid to just like go on Google and try to find some stuff on there and get inspiration from a lot of the other teachers. Some stuff I think I want to talk about that I've seen my teachers doing that I really appreciated. I had a teacher who really makes an effort to focus on scientists of color. That's definitely like whatever they're talking about a part of the curriculum, he'll take some time to go aside from that and explain, you know, how a lot of scientists of color may have contributed to that topic. Another thing that I also believe is trying to talk about the lesson that you already have, maybe from an Indigenous perspective, instead of talking about the Indigenous people of an area as something past tense or ancient, talk about it, you know, because they're still around. So just talk about it like the way it is. And as well as talking about things from an Indigenous perspective also kind of includes trying to stop talking about land and people like there's this disconnect from it. I think sometimes it can be difficult to kind of rewire your brain into thinking from like this academia way of thinking where everything's like this topic and we're studying the topic and that. But I think you can really try to, I'm not sure how you can really try to re-articulate the way that you think, but I think it's really, I've had this teacher who really put the effort to talk about his lessons from the perspective of like, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I just have bullet points here and I'm not quite, I wasn't quite too sure about how to word this. It's really difficult to word, but really it's just like taking the extra step not to create these new lessons, but to take the lessons you already have and talk about them from a different perspective that helps kind of put it into perspective for us from Guam is kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh no, we got you. You didn't need your bullet points. We heard you. You're doing great. Belle, you want to go ahead and introduce your speaker? And we'll leave the last question for both of you to talk to.
Maria Neve, are you here?
Hi.
Okay, let me quickly do a proper introduction. I would like to introduce Maranive Julie Tauave. She is 17 years old, attending Tafuna High School. She is interested in pursuing a career in science, STEAM, or business. She's participated in science fair competitions since she was in 8th grade and also participated in the 2019 and 2021 MATE American Samoa Regional ROV competition. She's currently interning with the Noaa Science Center on a marine debris project to spread awareness on marine debris and how it impacts our environments. Maria, yeah, olotai milenei.
Okay, so I'm not sure if everybody can hear me because
on my laptop, it says that my network is kind of unstable at the moment. But greetings and talofa. My name is Marquez Julie Tauave, and I am currently about to go into my last year of high school here at Tafuna High School. And so some meaningful activities, not really, I wouldn't really say they were, prior to this conversation, I wasn't really sure that they were like related to climate change, but looking back at it now, I guess they really are. But some things that I've done or been part of that that I think are related to climate change would have to be tree planting activities that we did with our science club at school, which is actually advised by Miss Claire. So what we did as a science club is that not only did we have our own rain gardens at our school, but we also went out to middle schoolers and elementary kids. We talked to them about how fun it is to actually build the rain garden, but at the same time talk to them about why rain gardens are such a good activity, or it's something that we actually need around here in our environment. Because, you know, with climate change happening, you also have these altered weather patterns and everything. And American Samoa, I saw a report that Miss Bell sent me, where it stated that American Samoa would probably experience 10% increase in rainfall. That would also increase sediments in washing into our waters, which of course would just suffocate the corals even more, making it hard for them to grow. And so that is actually something that we discussed with the kids. At first, they're all like, "Oh, it's so boring. I don't want to listen to this." But then when they went hands in on building the rain garden, they actually had fun. They treated it as like digging for a treasure chest. It's funny because at one of the schools, we were trying to make it big, but it was raining hard. And so everybody just picked up buckets and we were just scooping them and lining up. And it was really fun. And they actually got to learn from that hands-on, activity, just how big of an impact that a small rain garden could have. Like, it's not big on scale, but you know, the more we do it, the more you can actually see a better outcome from it. And then aside from that, I'm also an intern here at Noaa under Mr. Ngatai Vai Talamo. I'm not sure if any of you know him, but he took me in as an intern when I was just showing up for a small interview. But at the moment, I am also the youth leader when it comes to our marine debris program here in American Samoa. It's actually something we just started up with a few other folks that we're collaborating with. We want to try to focus on our youth to get into the program. So the last activity that we did for our marine debris program was that we, as an officer of our National Honor Society, I was able to bring in all of our members, not all of them, but we had 77 kids from our NHS show up, and we had a cleanup over there at Airport Pool here in Pala Lagoon. And it's funny because everyone, they only did it for their service hours, right? And then when they actually went there, they were just shocked. They were like, "We had this much trash," and they're like, "We had to clean all of this up." We managed. What shocked them even more was that we managed to collect 30 to 40 bags of trash, and even that wasn't enough. We weren't even able to clear most of it, and it was just within 100-meter distance. So everybody was just like, "Wow, like this is just," they were surprised. Even I was. But organizing these cleanups and just actually spreading awareness about it, you know, it just builds a passion. And I hope it also builds a passion into the other kids to become more aware of their environment. And so an advice that I, a student, would like to give or to share with you guys is to actually build a mindset. Just start off with like building a mindset in students, because something I've realized is that some people don't actually believe that climate change is a thing. I've actually had a teacher tell me that, and that yes, I know it was very hard. It took me to the gut. I was like, "Are you sure?" But you know, we move on from that, and I still choose to believe, because you know, you don't really see the small stuff until time actually makes the difference. And I really hope that our students are not only taught that, but they're also taught, ways of how to actually discuss, promote awareness, but also ways to actually battle against, climate change, because I know what climate change is, but I never really knew the impacts it had on our island. I mean, I never knew that American Samoa had 5 mass bleaching events. I was like, whoa, that is crazy, because all I thought was, the water is more acidic. That's it. But even that is just a huge problem. So what I would like in my own classroom is to just have, experiments, activities where we get to be creative. One thing that I actually want to do in a class, which I hope we would, with the marine debris program, is where we collect trash and then we would break up into groups, and the groups would eventually build something like a visual art, like a model of the earth using only recycled trash. And then that's just something that I've seen people from all over the world do, and I always thought it was just beautiful, and it was just a nice way to relax, but at the same time, you're doing something that would also improve, or that is actually helping our environment. And also just get our government involved. I really hope that happens. And I also want to talk about carbon footprint within our classes, because most kids don't know what that is, so they just throw plastic bottles wherever they want. But I really hope that is another thing that we can discuss, along with the how to reduce carbon footprint on our island. And so yeah, I'm pretty much hoping for a lot, as a future of this planet. I really hope that we could have a better place to survive and thrive. Thank you.
So I think it would be worthwhile to close out. I know that climate change can be really overwhelming. So
Yeah.
how are both of you coping? And what can we do as adults to support you and your generation?
Do you want to go? Okay. So that's a great question. So I believe that some ways that I've been coping. I've been trying to create some like safe venting space, because sometimes I don't know if you guys ever feel like this. I know you guys feel like this. I'm not gonna say this, but I know that I'm sure that a lot of you guys sometimes after like a really long like conference call or something, it's just like, you ever feel like, oh man, I feel so like insignificant, compared to this whole situation. And like, you're just sitting there and you're like staring at the ceiling. There's nothing I could do, and that can be a really like draining feeling. And so I've been finding that creating kind of like safe venting spaces, like with my partners in the work that I do, like I'll just like call up my group in the middle of the night. I'll be like, guys, and we're just gonna all kind of just support each other. And it's really nice. And then we talk and we get new ideas, and it just keeps you kind of inspired and, ready to take everything head on. And, even though it's something small, like just like a small conversation, I feel like just finding ways to remind yourself how strong you are, just to keep going, is a really great way that I've been able to cope. Now pass the mic over to
I would really say cope, but honestly, in those times, I actually do the exact opposite. I actually just go and watch more videos, kind of like, just feel how insignificant you are right now. You're doing nothing. So I just go ahead and watch more and read more and be like, wow, this is getting even worse and I can't do anything. I'm not doing anything. And it flusters you sometimes, because you're thinking like, if I can't do nothing now, maybe I can do something in the future. But then at the same time, in your head, you're like, it has to be done now. So it's just the coping. Honestly, I just go and watch videos and like timelines of just how things have changed, and just kind of like hope that it just gets better, and that people actually begin to become more aware of what is going on. And I also talk a lot with my teachers about it, especially with Miss Claire. So we tend to talk a lot about that, and she helps me a lot which is another reason why I enjoy going out to the other kids, because, you know, putting hope in those kids and like how and spreading awareness about it, it makes me feel better, because, you know, here's another person who would also feel the same and would hopefully, you know, become better than me, and just maybe they could come up with a better solution for everything. So yes, it's all about just spreading the awareness.
So I think both of you have made a really good point that ultimately in dealing with these massive crises is about human connection, right? And so I really appreciate both the fact that you've been very thoughtful about this and that you're able to prepare and deal with us people in this webinar. Thank you for being patient with us too, you know. Sometimes we're still learning as well. And I think you can see in the chat that people here are really inspired by you too. And so I know that we're gonna hear amazing things from you. And man, you guys should actually teach our classes, because it seems like you have a lot of wealth of, you have a lot to say as well.
So funny story, Claire that she keeps mentioning is actually part of the virtual workshop. She's actually listening in.
No pressure. I hope you get extra credit. Oh, no extra credit. Well, maybe all things are negotiable. I shouldn't say that in front of a group of teachers. Okay, anyway. Leon, you want to bring us back in terms of talking about the website? But again, thank you again, Sol. Thank you, Maria Neve. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
So we really need you guys to inspire us.
So that is a hard act to follow. I feel like I should have gone before for the youth, before we get into a little bit of the business, before we end up in closing. So if I can, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen very quickly. And we'll just talk a little bit about what's next and kind of continuing the journey. So I know I shared this website with you on the first day. Is everyone seeing it okay? Do I have the right screen I'm sharing? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay,
all good.
terrific. So I'm not going to go through each of the different tabs, but I do want to focus on the continue the journey section, just so people are aware of it. There are 3 portions in here that it's not only a site where we're adding stuff to, but you can add things to as well. So one is a calendar of events of things that are happening in the Pacific Islands region related to climate. And if you open that up, you'll see a bunch of events. You see our exhibitor workshop. There's some stuff from climate generation that's happening. This is all Hawaii Standard Time, just so people are aware. If you have any events that you want to highlight for the region, all you need to do is just invite this, as the instructions say, invite this email address, climate.emergency.events@gmail.com, and it will update on here. So it's a collaborative space where we can all keep informed in terms of the type of events that might be happening in the region. So that's one part of it. The second part, very briefly, in terms of other opportunities, we heard about Ocean Guardian School. There's a lot of other NOAA educator opportunities and student opportunities that are available. So check those 2 out. And then a lot of you have talked about, wow, there's so many resources that I'm getting. I wish I had a ability to keep track of what was what. We have 2 sections in here. One is kind of a curated list of all of the different NOAA resources that are available. One I want to highlight is CLEAN. We didn't talk about this much, but CLEAN, the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network, is kind of a one-stop shop portal that you can look for a lot of different climate change related resources, experiments, demos, etc. So check that out. A ton of resources in there that are curated, but we also have a section that is external in nature that we would love you to contribute to. So if you open up that section, that should be editable by anyone. So feel free to go ahead and add some things on here. We can go ahead and maybe organize it later on, but we've organized it by region. So if you have specific regional related resources and climate that you want to share, you can just add it to this list. So that's open and available for anyone to add to. Anything else that I'm missing on the workshop? So this workshop, you'll notice we did take off our our picture of all our participants, our yearbook slides. So knowing we had some private information there, but all the rest of the site is still intact, and we'll be rebranding it to kind of be a site looking forward and how we can kind of continue the journey together. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm happy to move us into closing protocol. Any final questions on the site or any of the logistics going forward? Am I missing anything, team? All right, I'll go ahead and stop my screen.
All right, well, I can't believe we're at the end of our workshop. I feel like we've done so much in these last few days, and it's been really just a joy to get to know all of you. I know all of us have had wonderful experiences. We wanted to close with an Oli Mahalo today that I'm sure a lot of folks in Hawaii are familiar with. And we wanted to extend the opportunity, if somebody's interested in leading us in this Oli, you know, we'd love to have you share with the group. Is there any volunteers out there who would like to lead our Oli Mahalo for today? We'd love to hear from you. You've heard a lot from us over the last few days. I'm not seeing anybody jump right to it, which is okay. I know this virtual Oli thing is new for me too. I think we have we're lucky we have a volunteer from Hawaii Island, Justin, who said he would be willing to lead in the events of this. But we can all sing along in the background. So the words are up here. So please do follow along, and mahalo, all of you. Oh, Liana says
you know what?
Yeah, Liana, we'd be honored to you.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll do it. I make my children do this, so I'm gonna stand and be a little weird and awkward, but I'm only compelled to do it because I truly feel thankful, and I want to say mahalo to everyone who put this together. Liana is a dear friend of mine, and I know he's been working tremendously hard, and he always talks about how amazing his team is. So I'm not like, I don't know how to do it right, but I'll just do it my own way. I'm a little nervous, but that's okay. I always like to put my hand on my heart because that's where the mahalo comes from. Okay, and feel free to sing along with me. I'll pretend you're all singing with me. Uhola ia kamakaloa la, ua ike aloha la, ua ia kamaloa la, ave himai mai ka ho'oku ia ka halawaila, mahalo e na akua. Mahalo e na kupuna laea. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Thank you, mahalo.
Mahalo, Liana. I'm so glad that you were compelled to share. We're really honored by that. So thank you for doing that. And passing on to us. Well, it was wonderful having everybody for these last few days. And we're going to stay on for a few more minutes if folks have questions. But we're sincerely grateful for all of the time that you dedicated. Looking forward to hearing more from you. And Leon, I think, is going to share with us about a survey.
Oh, Celeste?
Before, yeah. Well, I'll pass it to Marie. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, and Muñeca is also going to close out for Guam.
Well, Hathari, thanks, Marie, for bringing me into this space to do an opening and closing today. What a wonderful workshop, and how empowering all you educators must feel after all of that connection and that great information sharing, so much information, and also hearing, especially from our youth who are so critical to this work of climate justice and understanding climate and impacts and the ways to move forward. I wanted to share a full moon song from our islands. It's a full moon tonight here in Guam. And in closing, I just wanted to call attention to the healing powers of the moon and our innate connections to the moon, as especially as for us here in the Pacific, where the tides are literally guided by the moon. So this is a folk song, a Chamorro folk song. It's called Hagui ni Nani Langit, or You Are the Light in the Sky. And it's an homage to the moon, to the Kolafan, the full moon. Hagui inani langit, o pulang klaru zengapu, una libra pinitihu. Short and sweet. Thank you so much, Zusmasi, everybody.
Thanks, Monieka. Oh, I need to get the lyrics to that, please. And I know that Belle is going to finish at the very end, right?
Yes. So I'd like to invite back my brother Shifa to close us out and I just want to say thank you so much for all the teachers here in American Samoa, Hawaii, Guam. Hopefully this is just a beginning. Hopefully you'll be able to connect with not just us, but with each other. And yeah, God bless. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Sefa?
Can you guys hear me? Okay. All right, so before I continue with the closing remarks, I'd like to thank Claire for providing the closing slide and for me to finish off with that Samoan proverb up top there. Sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Lea, sorry. there we go. Also, I was asked to share with you guys our sanctuary jingle. So over the past 6 years, I've been asked time and time again to come up with a radio jingle for the sanctuary. So I already put the lyrics for the jingle in the chat section there. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. It's the beat to Meghan Trainor's Better When I'm Dancing.
Get in your sanctuary, that's the place to be. Listen to the ocean sing, oh, hey, oh. The fish are happy, dancing to the beat. They when reefs are healthy, sing, oh, hey, oh. Show the world you've got that fire. Working together we are stronger. Everybody come along, everybody sing along. For future generations, we have to save our ocean. Yeah, yeah, let's all protect our ocean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For more information, visit the Tau SFPF SUNY Ocean Center or call us at 633-6500.
There we go. So that's the sanctuary jingle that I wrote last year. We have a new one this year, so maybe I'll send it over to you guys if anyone requests. On behalf of the participants and the exhibitors, I'd like to thank the organizers for a phenomenal job putting all of this together. This is also a wonderful opportunity not only to learn and share more about climate change that is affecting our Pacific Islands, but also to be able to meet our brothers and sisters from Guam, CNMI, and Hawaii. Thank you guys so much. So in American Samoa, we have the crown of thorns sea star, or as we call it in Samoan, alamea. If one was to accidentally step on the crown of thorns, the traditional Samoan method of